Thank you. I want you all to answer this question. If you could increase joy in your life and have a massively positive impact on every single person that you interact with, would you want that? I can show you how to do that. It is by living by the principles of improv. My name is Galen Emanuele, and I am an improviser. Improv completely changed who I am and changed the way that I view the world and the way that I interact with every single person in my life. I know that it can do the same for you, so come with me for a moment as we explore that. Who here has had a conversation where you tell somebody that you are going on vacation and they respond by saying, "Oh, you suck, I hate you"? Yes. Who here knows someone in their life that you can think of right now, top of your mind, that if you have an idea, something you're really excited about, really stoked or jazzed, and you go and tell this person about it, they will shoot it down? You know that before you even bring it up to them, they'll say something negative and they'll suck all the excitement out of the idea and shoot it down, no matter how positive it is or any of that stuff. Yes? You all know somebody like that. They're everywhere. I have a story about that. A couple years ago, I was doing a workshop for a company about company culture and improv and using in improv the way that we communicate and how we impact each other as we connect. And this guy, after the workshop, came up to me, Ian, and told me his story. Ian was planning on running a marathon. Never run a marathon before in his life. He was super excited about it. He had friends that were supportive. And he called his dad to tell him about the idea. And this is how the conversation went. "Hey, Dad, I'm thinking about running this marathon." And his dad immediately responded with, "Oh, really? Ooh, are you sure? Well, I don't know." And proceeded to tell him about how running is bad for your body and it's miserable and what's the point of a marathon, you can't win anything, etc. So after that conversation, even though Ian was super excited about taking this on, he ended up not running the marathon. Right? Because his dad's negative response sucked the enthusiasm out of his idea and planted that seed of doubt enough that he didn't do it. So what does any of this have to do with improv? Everything. I've been improvising for about 10 years and teaching improv for about 7 years. Who here has seen a live improv show or watched the television show Whose Line Is It Anyway? Great, you're all familiar. So when improvisers like me perform, we do exactly what you've seen. We take suggestions from the audience, and then everything that we do is made up on the spot, inspired by those suggestions. Improvisers have a brilliant set of principles that they follow to make improv successful. If you take those same principles and use them in your life, it will change the way that you interact with every single person that you come across. The common misconception about improv is that it is about being funny and quick-witted and thinking fast on your feet and being clever. That is false. Improv is about making other people look good, which is so important. I'm going to say that again. Improv is about making other people look good. Everything in improv is centered around this core concept idea of yes and. That is the meat and potatoes of everything improv. And so in improv, everything you do and everything that your partner does is an offer. And you must accept your partner's offer and add more information onto it. Surrounding that core concept idea of yes and, there are a set of tenets, principles that make improv possible that every single improv student knows from day one of improv class. Here they are. Say yes, which means to accept ideas. Make other people look good, which means to support, and instead of trying to make yourself look good, focus on making other people look good and validating them. And to be positive, which means to use positive language, to be optimistic and good-natured. So when you see improv on stage, it looks like magic, but it's just a very simple, brilliant strategy. And here's an example of yes and in action in an improv scene. Two improvisers on stage, one of them says to the other one, "Hey Doc, I'm here for my 2 o'clock appointment." The other improviser would respond something along the lines of, "Oh great, come on in, have a seat, your brain's over here, let's get started with the transplant." Right? That second improviser said yes and accepted the idea that they were a doctor, that they had an appointment, and then they added more information. "Come on in, it's a brain transplant, let's go." So the opposite of that in improv is what we call a block, which is to say no to an idea. Here's an example of that. Improviser 1, "Hey Doc, I'm here for my 2 o'clock appointment." Improviser 2, "What are you talking about? I'm not a doctor, I'm just a squid in the ocean here." Right? That is a block. The second improviser said no and rejected the idea of the first improviser. It's a no-no. It is the only thing you cannot do in improv is to say no. Because when you say no, you halt progress and you destroy an idea. But when you say yes, you create forward progress and you open the door to discovery, possibility, and creation. It looks like magic, but it's just a very simple, brilliant strategy. So, if you use those same principles of yes and in your life, you will impact positively the way that you connect and deal with every single person that you come in contact with. Let's go back to Ian and the marathon. Ian's dad wasn't purposefully trying to say no and be negative. He was just carelessly giving his opinion, unaware of the impact that it would have on the situation. And what actually, the truth of it is that his dad would have been proud of him if he ran the marathon, right? Ian would have been proud of himself for taking something new on and accomplishing it. So let's take a look at what actually happened. Ian's dad acted the opposite of yes and. Say yes. He didn't. He rejected the idea immediately. Make other people look good. He wasn't trying to make Ian look good. He was trying to make himself look good by coming across as the voice of reason and being knowledgeable about running, right? And being wise and giving advice and being positive. He could have said something positive. Instead, he said a bunch of negative things and destroyed the idea of running it. So if Ian's dad instead was an improviser, dedicated his life to living by the principles of yes and, here's how that conversation could have looked. Hey, Dad, I'm thinking about running a marathon. That's awesome. You're going to be great. The most amazing part of the story is that Ian also told me in that conversation that if he had taken that workshop with me ahead of time, he wouldn't have let it affect him because he could see now what his dad was doing, which is just carelessly saying no and not realizing it. How powerful is that, right? And once you start to see the world in terms of people saying yes and people saying no and the impact of those two things, everything you view, the way that you see the world completely changes. That's what happened to me. That's the transformation that took place. Completely blew my mind and totally changed who I was as a person. That's why I'm so passionate about talking to companies about creating a yes and culture, and why I'm talking about this right now with you people is that it's so immediate, it's so powerful, and it's available to every single person. All of you right now can start living by yes and. Also, companies can have this too. Here's another story that you probably can relate to if you've ever had a job. A woman told me about a problem in her building where she came around a corner and saw an employee that was walking over a piece of paper that was on the ground. She thought he had dropped it. So when she asked him, his response was, "Oh, no, that's not mine, but I'm not going to pick it up. It's not my job." That situation escalated to this guy ended up calling the maintenance department to have them pick up the trash that was on the ground. The maintenance department shows up to find one single piece of paper on the floor that anybody could have picked up, right? So that guy, frustrated, chews out the guy that called him. Now those employees don't like each other. They go back and tell other employees about that. Now these two departments don't like each other. It escalates. It's ridiculous. But how familiar is that? Right? You've all experienced something equally ridiculous in a work environment. Work environments can be so toxic. But if that company and that employee was dedicated to an intentional yes and culture, he could have just picked up the piece of paper, no problem, right? There was an offer to pick it up. He could have said yes, and by doing so, he would have made the maintenance department look good and supported them. He could have chosen to be positive instead of saying, "That's not my job," right? And when you choose to live your life with yes and, I'm telling you, it changes the way that you see everything in life forever. This is the red pill. It is the matrix, people. To prove that this is a choice, I'm going to teach you a fun game that you can play on somebody. The next time you have an interaction with anyone, I want you to choose ahead of time that you're going to use yes and on them without them knowing about it, right? So you just say yes to everything, make them look good, and be positive. And then feel what it feels like to say yes to this person and watch from an outside perspective how that impacts this person and what their experience is with you. It's unbelievable. If you want to have a better marriage, try that. Get a glimpse of what it would feel like if you made an effort to create a yes and marriage. It's incredible. We're all going to do something right now because I want you to be able to practice this before you go try it on somebody else. So I'm going to say a bunch of things to you, and every person in this room, you're all going to say, "That's awesome," to everything that I say. Yeah. Okay, are you ready? Okay. I'm thinking about running a marathon. I'm going on vacation next month. I want to make dinner with you. I'm sad. Rude. Now that you know how to wield this power, you must wield it responsibly. Remember the guy that we talked about in the very beginning that you could think of at the top of your mind that says no to everything? Do not be that person. Don't be the person that opens your mouth and says something negative. Instead, be the person who thinks of something positive to say, who says yes and accepts ideas, right? Think of a reason why something can work instead of immediately why it won't work. Lift people up around you and do it every single time you open your mouth. You can. You absolutely can. And this is not about you saying yes to everything in your life or being fake or pretending that you're happy all the time. That's not possible. This is real life. What Yes and is about you being conscious and aware and taking responsibility for the impact that you have on every single person that you interact with. There is a way to say yes to somebody to make them feel like crap. Fine, I'll go on a hike with you. Technically, that's a yes. And there's a yes and way to say no to somebody that makes them feel like, I heard what you said, I considered you, you're important to me, right? I'd love to hang out with you and spend some time. I'm not excited about going on a hike, but maybe we can do something else. It is possible for you to say yes to a person and no to an idea, and that's important. Consciously, please choose to live your life by a yes and principle. You will increase joy in your life. You'll have a massively positive impact on every single person that you interact with. You'll have a better marriage. You'll have better friendships. You'll have a better working environment. It's simple and it's worth it. I promise you. Choose yes and. Say yes, make other people look good, and be positive. Thank you.